and welcome back to Sofubi Sit Down in honor of the release of the 5th MonsterVerse film. Crazy. Godzilla X Kong, two big monsters being bros. Thought it'd be fun to take a look at a figure based on the classic original King Kong vs. Godzilla. And since my favorite Sofubi company is Marmit, I thought we could take a look at one of the many versions of King Goji, Godzilla 1962, that they released. But I did just see the movie, and I thought, why not do like a quick little review as an appetizer for the figure review. So keep in mind, I just got home. I did not sit in the theater and take notes or anything like that. This is like a fully off-the-cuff, just spur-of-the-moment thing. There will be a deeper dive on this coming up in Coffee and Kaiju. But yeah, I'll just give you a quick rundown of my thoughts on Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. And if you're not interested, this was not going to have spoilers, but if you're not interested in the movie review and you want to jump to the figure review, the time codes are in the description, so you can just jump right ahead to that. But before you jump right ahead to that, if you could leave a like, that would be pretty cool. And enough of my rambling. What did I think of the movie? Okay, so I just saw Godzilla X Kong, so this is not, I would not consider this like a thorough review. This is sort of like my thoughts in a jumble after seeing the movie. There will be a review. We're going to do a full review episode on Coffee and Kaiju. That will be coming up. Look for that. But for now, this is just sort of the quick Sofubi sit down thoughts. So, thoughts on this movie. And I don't want you to think that I hate it. It's probably going to sound like I hated it. I did not hate it. I enjoyed it. It is absolutely batshit crazy. Many things are batshit crazy. The first of which is that this movie exists and that this movie came from... This is where the series is. From 2014, where we got this kind of serious Godzilla movie, and this is where we are now, where we have just there's like a world of monsters, and there's a hollow earth, and there's a monster, observation government agency, and there's all kinds of high-tech weapons. It's all just so crazy. It's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, it's cool. We got an entire series of Godzilla movies. Like, who would have thought 10 years ago that we were going to get an entire series of American Godzilla movies? That would also include King Kong. We're probably going to get a trilogy of Godzilla and Kong movies if this movie does well, and it's on pace. From what I've read, it looks like it's tracking to open at like 55 million, so we're probably going to get another movie. I love this King Kong. Let's start with that. This King Kong, in this movie, in all three of these MonsterVerse movies, this King Kong is so awesome. He's got so much personality. I think he took center stage in the last Godzilla and Kong movie. He also takes center stage in this movie. I just think inherently you can do more with a humanoid type of a character. He can emote more than Godzilla. He can express himself more. He can act more, so to speak. So he's cool. I really like him. Godzilla in this movie is pretty awesome. He gets some really good rampage scenes. Him and Kong get to have a little bit of a dust-up, which is always fun to see. I love that. And I don't want to get into spoilers. I don't think this is a spoiler, so I'm just going to say it. I love that whenever him and Kong go at it, basically Godzilla just owns Kong. Like, Kong is very, very smart, and he's very well realized on screen, but at no point in this movie, Godzilla is by far the strongest monster in the MonsterVerse. I don't think that's ever even a question. He's like Thor. He's like the Incredible Hulk. He's like Superman of, the MonsterVerse. So I like that, I like that about him. I like that. So,
you get some other monsters. You get a lot of monster action in this movie. You also have a little Kong, and you also have Scar King, and you also have that big white creature that I believe is called Shmoo. A Poo Shmoo, maybe. But, yeah, so that's cool. If you are interested in human characters and world building and the history of Hollow Earth and the inner workings of Monarch, then honestly, there's some stuff in this movie for you. The human side of the story was really not neglected. I kind of was surprised. There is the human characters get their fair shake. There's a lot of scenes with human characters. Most of them are pretty decent. There's a lot of exposition at the end, a lot of exposition dumps near the end where people are just saying things where you're like, how do they know all this? You gotta forgive it, I guess, in this type of a movie. The podcast character's name escapes me from the last movie has vastly improved from Godzilla vs. Kong. Way better character in this movie. They took away a lot of the things that made him very, very grating and annoying, and he's an enjoyable character. All the human characters are pretty fun. But again, if you're looking for, something with a lot of human drama and things, you are not going to look elsewhere. If you are looking for a lot of scenes of big-ass monsters beating the shit out of each other, then this movie, man, let me tell you, you are going to be a happy camper because there are a lot of scenes of monsters beating the shit out of each other. Kong gets a bunch of various fight scenes with a bunch of various monsters. And again, I'm not going to do spoilers, but he does get some great fights. Godzilla gets some great rampages. Godzilla gets a couple of pretty cool fights. And then it all kind of culminates in a big old monster battle that takes place in Hollow Earth in a really inventive monster fight that E.G. Tsuburaya and Ishiro Honda on copious amounts of LSD would probably never have thought to film because it's just completely bonkers. So yeah, the plot's pretty basic. I mean, it's something's going on down there in Hollow Earth, and Kong realizes it, and Godzilla also realizes it, and he is trying to absorb as much power as he can, and Monarch realizes it, and they dispatch a team down there to figure out what's going on, and then Godzilla and Kong and Monarch all kind of figure it out, and there's a big old monster brawl. And if that is the type of thing you're looking for, then this movie is for you. So, my rating, I'm going to go ahead right now. I'm going to give it like 7.5 out of 10. 7.5 out of 10. Could change. I don't know. I got to digest it a bit, but that is my just walked out of the theater thoughts on the movie. So, let's do a regular Sofubi Sit Down episode. Now we are going to take a look at a Marmit figure based on the original King Kong vs. Godzilla from 1962, which is the first Godzilla movie I ever saw as a wee lad. I think I was like 4 years old. Got a special place in my heart, so let's do that now. If you're not interested in toy reviews, well, thanks for listening to this part. Like and subscribe anyway. Thanks, bye!
So like I said, Marmit has released quite a few King Goji figures. They've done one in every scale, including the large scale. They haven't done a ton of large scale figures, but one of the ones they did is the Godzilla 62, and it is an incredible sculpt. And we usually do size comparisons later in the video, but just real quick to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. There he is with the Bandai 6-inch memorial box Godzilla 62. So a substantial figure, pretty big. We can bust out the old tape measure even. And there you go, man. Thing's like 14 inches tall. Pretty rad. Really good figure. I really, really dig this guy. He is the light brown variant from 2006, which makes him almost 20 years old. So, yeah, man, he's almost old enough to drink. So let's take a look at this guy, shall we? So let's take a look at the head sculpt on this guy, and it is so good. Look at that. Looks like he stepped off the screen. Obviously the colors are stylized, but the sculpt really isn't. It is pretty darn accurate, and it's really, really nice. Really well done. Teeth are sculpted and painted white. Inside of the mouth, the tongue is sculpted and painted red. The full figure is this sort of a brown, light brown. I mean, he's the light brown variant, but there are some sprays on here. This isn't just the brown of the vinyl that was used. You got the eyes painted a nice yellow there with some black for the irises. Looks really good. The neck painted nicely. Paint continues down onto the chest with a nice little green spray there to accent the chest. Arms have a nice green spray as well. The hands are large and sculpted well to match the suit. The hands on the suit are large. And gold nails. Looks good. Work our way down to the feet. The feet are sprayed in a green and also gold spray for the nails. Working around to the back, all the way back. You have green spray all the way down his back, and the dorsals are a combination of green spray, the brown, and then outlined in this really nice gold, and they stand out really well. The tail is a bit stubby on him. Not a complaint, I dig it. There is pretty much no real articulation to speak of. The arms do move where they're attached. The legs will jiggle a bit, but that's not what is. It's unintended to move. It's just intended to look badass on your shelf, and that is what he does. Additionally, on the bottom of mine, you can see here we have the autograph of the late great Haruo Nakajima, and he wrote Godzilla on the other foot. And I got this autographed back in 2016 at Chillard Theater. He was there for the weekend. I was there for the weekend. A bunch of us were there. It was a really fun time. At one point, I had a nice dinner with him. A bunch of us went out to dinner at a nice Italian restaurant. And he sat at my table, and it was pretty freaking awesome. It was a pretty great and memorable weekend. And I'm really glad he signed this figure, because this figure is just a really impressive figure on your shelf, and it stands out really well. So he's one of my favorite figures in my collection. That is him. Let's do some size comparison time, and a correction. I did not get him signed at Chiller. I got him signed at Monster Mania in Cherry Hill. I got this guy signed at Chiller back in 2014, which was the first time I had ever met Nakajima. And this is the Marmit Monster Heaven 62, and he glows in the dark, and it looks really super cool when he does that. In fact, through the magic of photography, here it is. Additionally, we've got another Marmit. This is the Marmit Vinyl Paradise Godzilla 62. And there he is. And he's cool. He's a fat boy. And that's how they stack. And let's do Marmit one more time. Here's the Marmit Parababy 62. There you go. That is how they scale. And let's do another big boy. Here is the X Plus Godzilla 62, and my X Plus had an unfortunate X Plus tragedy a few years ago, where my entire X Plus shelf fell down, and a bunch of them broke. Most of them were repairable, thankfully. This guy I ended up having to repair in a few spots. My Jet Jaguar, however, did not make it. He died. So that is how he compares to the X Plus. So he's bigger, He's even bigger than the X Plus. So he is a big figure. You're going to need some shelf space, but he is going to look rad on your shelf, and he will also look rad next to a can of ice cold hams. As you can see there, he's a multi-hams boy. He needs like 3 hams. He's a 3-hamser. So that is him. He is awesome. If you ever have a chance to grab one, do so, because he is a great figure. And yeah, man. So thanks so much for watching. We are going to do a Coffee and Kaiju on the original King Kong versus Godzilla coming up. It will be within the next, I'm going to say, month. We have one planned before that, but we will be doing that. We are going to look at the movie, the Japanese version, the English version, and then we're going to take a look at the different collectibles that have come out, not just Marmit, but we're going to look at as many of them as we can. It should be pretty cool. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, please like, please subscribe, and once again, thank you. Bye.